So here we are, lesson 14 in module 3. Our aim is how do we strategize to solve multi-term problems. So multi-term is going to mean different denominators, and it also is different operations, addition and subtraction. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this lesson, but it's really not that confusing at all. We just have to pay attention. We just have to stick together on this one. Okay, we're going to start off with a little bit of review about tape diagramming and parts and wholes. So let's go through that kind of quickly. So here's our problem. For a large order, Mr. Sullivan made 3/8 of a kilogram of fudge in his bakery. He then got 1/6 of a kilogram from his sister's bakery. Whoa, typos all over the place. If he needs a total of 1.5 kilograms, how much more fudge does he need to make? So this is where we're missing a part and we know the whole. Okay, so this is how you would set up your tape diagram. What do you know? He has 3/8, he gets a 1/6, how much more does he need? So that's how we would set it up. So then we just go ahead and do the work. So now I'm putting together the total, okay, and I'm subtracting these two fractions from the total to find out what I need. So I put it in parentheses because I'm doing it one at a time, okay? So here I'm finding a common denominator between 1.5 and 3/8. So my common denominator is going to be 8. So then I put these together. So I do 1 and 4/8 minus 3/8 equals 1 and 1/8. So do you get that? Right now I'm doing what's in the parentheses. Then I take this 1/6 and I put it back in here once I'm done with the parentheses work. So now I have 1 and 1/8 minus 1/6. Common denominator is 24. And I convert them into units, into fractions with like units, so 24. And then I just do the subtraction. So I turn this into 1 3/4 minus 4/24. I turn this into an improper fraction, and then I subtract and I get 23/24. Okay, so that's my answer. That's how I set up a tape diagram where I know the total and I'm missing a part. Okay? Now the next type is where you know everything and you want to know how much the total is. So I'm adding this up. Hold on a second. No, yes, okay. So 2 3/4 of a cup of milk is Charlie. Lizzie is 3/8 and Carmen is 1 1/6. So how much do they drink all together? So I just have to add them up, and my answer is 4 and 7/24. So I didn't do all the work here because you know how to do this. You know how to find a common unit and then just figure it out, and this you use as a check. Okay, so I want you to do all the work in your notebook and then just make sure you get this answer. Okay? So we're going to keep going. And of course, at any time that you need to stop and re-listen, just go ahead and do that. Okay, so here's our actual work for today. So problem number 1 is 2/3 plus 1/5 plus 1/3 plus 1 4/5 equals what? So I'm showing you here that I'm combining like terms. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So I started with the fifths. So here's 1/5 and 1 4/5, and I put those guys together. And then I took the 2/3 and the 1/3 and I put those together. Does everybody see that? So now it's kind of easy for me to add these, right? 1/5 plus 1 4/5 equals what? Well, I look at the fractions. I have 1/5 and 4/5. So it'll be 5/5. So what's 1 plus 5/5? Well, 5/5 is another whole, right? So that would be 2. And 2/3 plus 1/3 would give me 3/3, which is equal to 1. So then my problem becomes 2 plus 1, and it equals 3. So what they're going to basically be doing in this lesson is giving you fractions with unlike units, kind of messing them around in the algorithm, and then you have to put them together to make sense of it. All right, so I'll show you how they're doing it. There's a couple of different types of algorithms they're going to use. So this is one where it's all addition. So the next one is all subtraction. Okay, so they have 5 and 7/8 minus 1/2 minus 7/8 minus 1 1/2. Now there's a couple ways you could do this. So you could put the like fractions and add them together. Okay, I'm adding them together to see how many eighths I have. Okay, does that make sense to you? So I have 5 and 7/8 minus 7/8. I didn't mean add them together, I meant put them together. Okay, so I'm putting them together and I'm putting the halves together. And 1 1/2 plus 1/2. Okay, so if I have 5 and 7/8 minus 7/8, I'm going to end up with 5, correct? Because these cancel each other out. 7/8 minus 7/8 is 0. Minus 1 1/2 and plus 1 1/2 plus 1/2. So 1 1/2 plus 1/2 is 2, right? Because I'm now putting this and this together to get like terms, to get like a similar number. So 5 minus 2 is 3. You might be asking yourself, why is this subtraction and this is addition? Well, the reason is because the 5 and 7/8 you're subtracting out, because we know we're subtracting, right? Subtraction was our first thing. So if I take 5 and 7/8, I already have, this is an eighth, so I'm subtracting that. So now I'm putting the halves together so that I could subtract them easily from what was left of the eighths. Okay? So let me show you that one more time because that's a little confusing. All right, so since this, oh, I shouldn't have used red. Hold on. Since this and this are eighths, and I want to subtract them, they're already like units, so I can subtract easily. Okay? Then I want to take the half and the 1 1/2 and add them together to subtract them from what I got after I subtracted the eighths. So once I got rid of the eighths, I was left with the whole number 5, and it just so happens this gives me a whole number 2, and then I can answer it easily with the 3. You're not always going to get so lucky and have just whole numbers, but this time you were. All right, let's keep going forward. 2 and 5/6 minus 1/3 plus 1/6. Well, here we would put this 2 and 5/6 and the 1/6 together. And what would I get? 2 and 5/6 plus 1/6 will give me 3. And then from that, I'm subtracting the third that's left here. So 3 minus 1/3 would give me 2 and 2/3. Okay, because you're going to change that into thirds and then subtract out the 1/3. Okay? Here is our next one. This is problem 4. So this is another type of problem they're going to give you where there's a piece missing. Okay, so we don't know this. It's like a tape diagram where we don't know that part. So first we would add the parts we know. So we know 9/4 and we know 14/3. So we add them together and then subtract them from the answer. Because it would be like this. If you were a little kid, right, and you had 2 plus something equals 5, well, you would eventually take the 2 and subtract it from the 5 to find the answer, right? So we're doing the same exact thing. We're adding these together, and then we're going to subtract it from this to find the answer. So without me wasting time on the video and going through all these steps, you could just look at it. It's done in 2 different ways. This one is done by just changing the fractions, okay, to make to equivalent units. And this one is done putting the 8/11ths in the front. That's the only difference. These are in parentheses, and this has the 8/11ths in the front. This just does all the work, and in the end, the 8/11ths is there subtracting the answer. Okay, so just go ahead and take a look at that. Then this is the other type of problem they're going to be showing you, where you have something minus 15 minus 4.5 equals 7 3/5. So again, you add what you know, even though this is on the opposite side of the equal sign, add it all together and you'll find out the missing piece. So I did the work for you here, and in order to show you how it makes sense, say again, I was a little kid and I had blank minus 8 minus 4 equals 20. Okay, so how would I figure this out? Well, I would do 20 plus 8 plus 4 equals something, and then add that together. 20 plus 8 is 28 plus 4 is 22. Okay, so then look how it makes sense. If I put 22 here, 22 minus 8 minus 4 is 20. So that's how it makes sense. Okay, so just keep this in mind if you were using whole numbers if you were a little kid, and now you're older and you're using fractions, but it's the same principle. You take the numbers you know, add them together, and then that is the missing number. Okay? So we're up to your homework. This is what you're going to do. Problem set 1A and C, 2B and D, and word problem number 3. And these are your answers. And tomorrow come in with your questions and comments, and we'll see how it goes. All right, have a good night.